We had seen the models and also the rules for the new Ultramarine units and went through those in a video a little while ago, but now we have finally got the points costs for the new Calgar, the new Cato Sicarius, and the new Victrix Honour Guard. And on top of that, we've also got a brand spanking new detachment for you to use them in. Now, as you would expect from the Ultramarines, this one is a new take on the Gladius detachment, and it is called the Blade of Ultramar Detachment. So we're going to talk about all of that today, but first up on the points front, interestingly, we actually now not only have two datasheets for good old Calgar, the new Terminator armor version and the old Gravis version, Cato Sicarius also has two datasheets now. You can, at least as far as the Munitorium field manual is concerned, still take him with his old 85 point version where he is called Captain Sicarius, or you can bring his new datasheet where he goes by Cato Sicarius, and this one costs you 120 points. So essentially, if you want to use his new abilities and the new weapon profiles that he has, you are paying an extra 35 points over his old profile. And personally, I'm not entirely sure that's worth it. You do lose that nice ability to give you the unit that he joins Scout. And yes, whilst his melee is undoubtedly better with that Blade Champion style triple profile as well as the free heroic intervention, I'm not entirely sure personally that I would pay an extra 35 points for it. And I'll be honest, I think they have priced new Sicarius with the idea or the thought that you are probably going to be putting him with the Victrix Honour Guard because he does get a lot of benefit from them and he does work very well with them. So I do kind of have a sneaking suspicion that they've priced him at that 120 points with the thought that that includes the cost of adding him to the Victrix Honour Guard and the bonuses he gets from them. Similar to that, as we already knew, with Calgar, you can still bring his older 200 point profile with his Gravis armor, or you can instead choose the new Terminator profile. In the new Terminator profile, he is going to be running you 140 points, so he is 60 points cheaper than the Gravis version. As we saw in the video the other week, the profile and the abilities are pretty much exactly the same. The big change for new Calgar is you lose his two Victrix Honour Guard, and you also lose the ruled Honour Guard of Macragge, which gave him the 4-up Feel No Pain when he was with them. Now, yes, he is cheaper at 140 points, but that is a very big loss from his old datasheet. 60 points is cheaper in the Terminator armor, but for the Gravis version, you are getting an extra 6 wounds with a 2-up save, 4-up invuln, and an extra 10 strength 5 minus 2 AP 2 damage swings. And honestly, for 60 points, that isn't a bad amount of extra stuff to have. So again, I'm not entirely sure if new Calgar is actually worth taking over the old one. Certainly if you are looking at that new Victrix Honour Guard like Death Star bomb situation, Gravis Calgar does go with them much better than the new one. So honestly, I'm not super sold on new Calgar. I'm not super sold on new Sicarius, although I think he is okay. I just think with Calgar specifically, the older 200 point Gravis version, despite being a lot more expensive, admittedly, he is still worth those 200 points over the new 140 point Terminator version. On the topic of the Victrix Honour Guard themselves, I think we all knew and expected they would be quite pricey because they are very good. They are a unit that has 4 wounds apiece, a 2-up save, and some pretty scary melee attacks. Not to mention the fact that you can also bring the Ancient and the Chapter Champion in the mix, so they were always going to be pricey. 3 of them is going to run you 130 points. That means about 43 points per model. So they are a lot. They are more expensive than Blade Guard Veterans, your Inner Circle Companions, Sanguinary Guard, those other elite specialist units for the chapters that you can get. I do, however, think they are worth it. The Ancient giving you that once per game bonus strength and attack, the 12 wounds of extra defense that you get to give someone like Calgar or Sicarius, even the Champion getting those precision attacks on his melee profile, they are a very strong unit. But where I think they really come into their own and really get to be reasonably good value actually is if you take a full unit of 6. Because a full unit of 6 Victrix Honour Guard, that is going to cost you 210 points. So for a full unit, you are actually only paying 35 points per model. And yes, the reason that they aren't twice the price as the 3-man squad is because you can still only take 1 ancient and 1 champion, so you can't double up on them. The extra 3 guys in a full squad are essentially just 3 regular honor guard, but paying 35 points for a 4 wound, 2 up save model with some decent attacks, -1 to be wounded when they're with a captain or a chapter master, as well as that reactive move whenever they get shot at, is really, really, really good. And it actually means that the full terrifying Death Star combo that we looked at in the previous video of Marneus Calgar and his honor guard, 6 of the new Victrix Honour Guard, and Cato Sicarius, that ends up running you 540 points, which, don't get me wrong, that is expensive. That's over 25% of your list in a 2k game, but it's actually a little bit less than what I thought it might be. I was genuinely thinking it would be maybe a tiny bit closer to 600 than 500, maybe something like 560, 570. So it is still very, very expensive, and I'm not saying it's going to be this super scary tournament winning competitive option. It is still very much all of your eggs in one basket, but actually it's a bit cheaper than I thought it might be, and it could still be a very, very scary unit to put down onto the tabletop. On the detachment front, the new one, as mentioned, is called the Blade of Ultramar, and it is essentially a slightly revamped Gladius task force. The detachment rule, Master Doctrines, is almost exactly the same as the one from Gladius, giving you a choice of Devastator, Tactical, or Assault Doctrine, where you can either advance and shoot, fall back and shoot, or advance and charge, and you basically get to pick one of these in your command phases, but then you can't reuse them, at least in regular Gladius. Unlike regular Gladius, this one gives you a bonus in that you can pick the same doctrine multiple times if you have Calgar on the battlefield. It is still limited to 3 battle rounds only, so you can't say get advance and charge every single battle round for the entire game, for instance, but what it means is that you can do, if you wanted, 3 turns of the same doctrine, so you could do 3 turns of advance and charge, or 2 turns of advance and shoot, and then a turn of fall back and shoot if you needed to. So all it does really is make an already fairly flexible rule just even better, and whilst it isn't a huge change from the basic version, I think it is a noteworthy one if you have Calgar on the battlefield, because it just gives you even more capacity to be sort of flexible and adapt to the battle and get the rule that you need right at the time you need it to. So it's not a massive update, but it is, in my opinion, certainly better than the generic Gladius version. The enhancements are all the same pretty much, they're just slightly differently named and there's a few slight tweaks in them. Armor of Antonius grants the bearer a 2-up save and a 5-up feel no pain that Artificer armor does from the main Gladius task force. Oath of Macragh gives the bearer +1 attack and strength, and then +2 to those stats if you are in the Assault Doctrine. Veteran of Behemoth brings you back that old favourite of Fire Discipline, so for 25 points it gets the bearer and his unit sustained hits 1, and also reroll advance rolls if you are in the Devastator Doctrine, just to get you some extra mobility. The only enhancement that has otherwise really changed is Student of the Codex. This is no longer Adept of the Codex, but it's still the same 20 points, and it allows the bearer and his unit to pick the Tactical Doctrine for his unit instead of any other selected, or even if you don't have an active doctrine up. So basically, you can get a unit to fall back and shoot, even if the rest of your army is, say, advancing and charging, or if you have used up all of your 3 doctrines already, you can still get tactical on a unit. The big change here is that this is just any Astartes model now. It used to just be on a captain, so you can put this on a lot more stuff now, you know, a chaplain, a librarian, or a lieutenant, or anything like that, so it can be a bit more flexible on where this goes. Likewise, with the enhancements, we have the stratagems. There is only one change here. The rest are all the same, just renamed. So you still have Armor of Contempt, of course, but then Ultramarine Adaptivity gives you the ability to reselect a doctrine for a unit, the same as Adaptive Strategy. Exemplary Vigilance gives you Ignores Cover, as well as +1 AP if you are in the Devastator Doctrine, which is the same as Storm of Fire. Honor the Chapter has a replacement in Courage and Honor, which gives your unit the Lance ability on their melee weapons in the fight phase, as well as +1 AP on those weapons if you are in the Assault Doctrine. And then finally, practical tactics, that gives you a redeployment trick, letting you move an infantry or mounted unit 6 inches if an enemy ends a move within 9 inches of you. So no real changes there. The only new stratagem is Tactical Foresight, and it is a good one. It gives a unit from your army in the enemy shooting or fight phase -1 to be wounded. Now, this isn't just infantry units, this can go on anything. So it can go on your bikers, it can go on your dreadnoughts, it can go on Guilliman, it can go on your tanks. You know, if you've got a Land Raider, you can make that -1 to be wounded. So it is a very, very strong stratagem. It doesn't go very well with the new Victrix Honour Guard because they already have -1 to be wounded if they have a captain or a chapter master with them. But this is still a very good strat for the majority of stuff in your army. The big downside to this strat, and why this detachment is more of a side grade than a straight upgrade in my opinion, is that this strat comes in replacement of Only in Death Does Duty End, which was an incredibly strong stratagem for Gladius. It gave a unit the automatic ability to fight on death. Now, it was pricey, it did cost you 2 command points, but a guaranteed fight on death is insanely strong. Most rules and strats and abilities that give fight on death only go off on a 4+. This just gave you guaranteed fight on death, so it was really, really good, and the loss of this is a very, very big one. I think that whilst, yes, the detachment rule, having Calgar in the army does make that just flat out better, and the -1 to be wounded is very, very nice as a stratagem. You also have some new units like Calgar and Cato and the new Victrix Honour Guard, so there is a lot to sort of play around and reasons why you might want to bring this detachment. But as far as comparing it directly to Gladius, I can't say it's an upgrade purely because the loss of that strat can have such a big impact. I would say overall the detachment, as I said, it feels pretty much like Gladius, just with a bit of a twist, but it's not a better twist, it's not a worse twist. There are pros, there are cons, it just feels different. And I mean, in terms of the new units, I don't think new Calgar is as good as Gravis Calgar. I don't think new Sicarius is quite worth 120 points. I would say personally, I do think he's better than old Sicarius. I just don't think he's worth 120 points, maybe 110 or something like that. But I do think he does have some potential in terms of the actual rules he has. And then for the new Honour Guard, I do like them. I like them as a 3-man squad. I like them as a 6-man squad. Personally, I think the full 6-man squad is the better option. I think they work very well in this new detachment, despite not actually comboing with the new stratagem, because as I said, they've already got -1 to be wounded baked in. But giving them Lance and +1 AP with Courage and Honor and that sort of thing, or, you know, the multi-use of doctrines with Calgar in the army, there is a lot of use and flexibility and power to be had running this new detachment. So I think it's okay. If I was an Ultramarines player, I would be tempted to try it out, but I just think you can't say this is going to be a flat out 100% replacement for Gladius all of the time, because if you have a unit or some melee units that you think having a guaranteed fight on death is going to be a really big factor in your game plan, you're probably still going to want to go for Gladius over this new one. As always though, I'd love to know your thoughts, not only on this new detachment, but also on the new unit point costs. Let me know down in the comments below what you think, and as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do like and subscribe for more Warhammer content from me, but until next time, I'll catch you later guys.